This is a beginner yoga session on 3 poses, 3 standing poses, Warrior Two, Triangle, and Half Moon. These poses are excellent for developing leg strength, core strength, glute strength, and pelvic floor strength. We're going to run through these poses a couple of different times. I'm going to try to give you the basics of the poses to take with you into the intermediate yoga sessions. So, standing at the top of your mat, what we're going to do is we're going to step our right foot back long. This stance is pretty long, maybe more than a leg's length. And the alignment is that the front heel and the back arch intersect. The front toe faces mostly forward, all the way forward, and the back foot at least parallel to the back edge of the mat, if not the toes facing a little bit more forward. One of the biggest things that you see that indicates that your glute is weak or not firing is that the knee comes in, and what we want to do is we want to correct that firing. So as we bend the knee to go into Warrior Two, we want to engage the glute first, so the knee trends out towards this purple wall, and then we bend the knee. And this is how we can learn kinesthetic literacy with the glute, learn how to activate it, what it feels like, and then take that into our running. So as we're sitting here, you might notice that your thigh is tight here. Gentlemen are going to have an issue with this, so all you have to do is shorten this up a little bit and stay here, because the point of this pose is that the spine is straight up. So the anatomy points are pelvic bone, belly button, heart, nose, all in a straight line. We're not reaching forward. We're not doing this business. We're going to stay here until that inner thigh gets loosened, and then we're going to sink down a little bit. We lift up the spine. You get pelvic floor work as you draw the legs in and the belly button up. Hands reach up, and they reach out. You take notice that if you can see your second toe down there means that your knee is staying right where it needs to be. So this is a nice strong Warrior Two, and I imagine if you're doing this with me, your front quad is burning. So let's go ahead and step forward to the top of the mat and do the opposite side. So square the feet up and take a nice long step back. If it doesn't go where you want it to go the first time, move your feet. Okay, front toe straight forward. Heel arch intersect. Again, notice where the knee is traveling. Knee wants to trend out a little bit, get that glute working as the knee bends. Straighten up the torso. It requires some adjustment in the back hip. Again, you'll probably feel some inner thigh stretch, but that's good. That's a beautiful thing about yoga. You work on these hard poses and you're so focused on your quad burning, you're getting stretch elsewhere. You just don't know it. So the torso is lifted up nice and strong. Hands drift up. My gaze is softly over the middle finger. Notice that my shoulders aren't rolled up here. They're relaxed. I'm using my lats and serratus. Keep the shoulder blades down on the back. And let's lift up. Let's stretch up, stretch the back out a little bit, hands up to the ceiling, exhaling, hands to the heart. We're going to focus on this pose a little bit more. Standing at the top of the mat. Let's step the right foot back again. Remember that long stance, heel arch in line with each other. Activate the glute, knee bends, torso straight up. I'm not using my hands much because we're focusing on the feet. There is so much to be learned in this pose down here. It's fabulously awesome. So, the next aspect of this is always nice and strong. When someone comes by and moves this, your glute and your legs are so strong and engaged that your leg doesn't move. Your toes are lifted. This will help with balance and feet and ankle strength. And the back toes as well. So, one of the things that we can do is strengthen the feet with yoga, and how we can do it is being mindful about how we're doing these poses. So notice that my back foot, my arch isn't working. My leg's not working. The peroneals on the side aren't working. So what I can do is I can roll my foot, kind of roll that back side of that foot out, lift my toes, and now you see my arch. It's hard to do when you go down a little bit. That leg presses the arch back down, but it's good work. So if you're a pronator, flat-footed, and it's causing you problems in your running, this is an excellent way of strengthening the feet. I was a pronator 2 years ago, now I am not. So this stuff works if you focus on it. Lift and spread the toes, and again, lift the arms up. Shoulders are nice and soft. And let's step forward. Shake it out a little bit, inhaling all the way up. And hands to the heart, to the opposite side. So the feet are squared up. Step back nice and long. Heel arch in line. Front toes are lifted. My knee is going to trend out just a little bit. Get that glute working. And notice the back foot. So the foot not working. Roll that toe. Lift up the arch. Toes are lifted. And as I sink down, I remain there. And the torso is lifted up. Hands reach up. Fingers are softly over the middle finger. And then the hands down, and let's step up. Go ahead and shake the feet a little bit, reaching all the way up, and hands down to the heart. We're going to do this one more time. So feet are square to the top of the mat, hip distance apart. Step back, heel arch in line. Lift up the arches in the toes, get the legs set. Square up the pelvic bowl. Lift up here. So this sinks down, this lifts up, the hands kind of softly drift up, and you will get maximum work in that front quad if you can get to 90 degrees here. So as you go further down, the work goes further down here. So here's where we can learn how to work hard and be calm on our yoga mat, which will transition into running triathlon. And release that. Let's step forward. Inhaling all the way up. Hands down to the heart. And transitioning to the opposite side. Square the feet. Big step back. Heel arch in line with each other. Front toe straight forward. Knee bends, heading the way it's supposed to. I can see my big toe. Arches are working. My pelvic bowl is stable, not tilting to the forward. Hands reach up. My gaze is softly over the front fingers. Shoulders are reaching down my back. So this is a tall order for all of these. Lots of steps. So listen to this repeatedly. You'll pick them up. The goal is to get the front knee bent to 90 degrees without losing the integrity of the back arch. And release that step forward. Let's reach the hands all the way up. Exhaling, hands to the heart. Okay, we're going to move to triangle. Triangle is a pose that you're probably going to need a block if you have tight hamstrings. 2 blocks if you have really tight hamstrings. So, really tight hamstrings would look like this. So the blocks are going to be on the outside of the front foot. A lot of people do this wrong. So I'm going to show you what it looks like and how to practice it. So let's practice with the left foot forward first, and I step back nice and long. It's that same long stance, heel arch in line with each other. Back foot's at least parallel to the edge of the mat. If not, toes pointing slightly forward. Triangle is different than Warrior Two in that the front leg is mostly straight. Mostly straight, what I mean by that is that the leg is micro-bent. It's not locked out, and especially if you can hyperextend your knees, we want to build length strength by having it slightly bent. And you're going to use your glute and rotators by always trying to externally rotate that leg or bring the knee out. Glutes, excellent work. So after we have this leg planted nice and strong, then we tilt the torso. This time the pelvic bowl is tilting. And we connect our hand to the blocks that are by our ankle. And part of the point of triangle is to have the spine straight. So if you have tight inner thighs, tight hamstrings, that'll stop you, but that's okay. Stop there. It's an excellent stretch. try to keep your back on one plane. We're not trying to let the rear extend out like this and lean forward. We want the legs to rotate outward here to get everything in one plane. And then as we reach our hand up, my hand is not reaching towards the sky necessarily. It's in line with my heart. So since I'm not down here, my hand is pointing more towards the back of the room. So, and I'm also not kind of being aggressive with my shoulder. I'm using my back to pull my shoulder open. So this is a nice way to stretch the hamstring, get some work in, open up the back. And pressing the back foot down helps me to come up. I step forward, and we'll shift to the other side. So I bring my block tower over here, right foot forward, left foot steps back long. Heel arch in line. Again, my front leg, my toes are lifted, my leg, the knee is slightly bent, externally rotating. You want to externally rotate your leg so much that the heel feels like it's going to go out to the left. You won't move much, but that's how strong you want the glute and the rotators working. So as I tip my torso down, I connect in with my blocks, open up my heart, lifting up my hand to where it's in line with my heart. Yoga is about lining things up with yourself, not necessarily with the floor or the ceiling. And then planting the back leg, coming up, and then stepping forward. So again, we're going to visit that again. Move your block tower over to the side. Step to the top of your mat. Connecting with your feet, step the right foot back, long step back, heel arch in line with each other. Stabilize that front leg. Remember the toes are lifting, the knee is slightly bent. The leg is externally rotating a bit. I reach for my block, and then I open up my hands. I roll open my torso. This is where a lot of glute work, a lot of core work comes in. To roll up the torso so I'm not looking like this. I'm rolling open and getting a nice stretch in my back. Press the back foot down, bring yourself up and step forward. Switch your blocks. Right foot forward, left foot steps back long. Heel arch in line, toes are lifted. Front knee is slightly bent. I'm reaching for my blocks, using my torso to roll open, extending my hand up. Again, not allowing this. Bringing myself in line. Press the back edge of the foot down and inhaling up and step forward. I wanted to show you one more way that we can practice triangle. You can move your mat, or you could do this outside with running shoes on. Triangle is an excellent pose to do after running. It stretches the back and hamstrings at the same time. So you get the mat to the edge of the wall. Bring your left foot forward. We do that same step back. Block goes to the side of our ankle. And then I rest my left hip on the wall, and my shoulder blades are on the wall. I still have the same toes lifted and the knee slightly bent. And as I bring my torso down, I find my block. And being against the wall allows you to go into it further. It takes kind of a little bit of balance out of it. And so as I lift my hands up, I keep my shoulders in contact with the wall and my hip, and I'm trying to roll this back as well. It's not going to go all the way due to how the pelvis is built, but that's the point of the torso, to roll open and not put it all in the shoulders that you see in a yoga class. So this is an excellent way of practicing triangle. Press the back edge of your foot down and come up, and we'll switch to the opposite side. Place the block. Right foot forward, left foot steps back. Heel arch in line, toes are lifted. Front knee slightly bent, leg externally rotating. Torso bends down, you reach the block. Get the hip. Torso opening, shoulder blades on the wall. Notice how my head is supported. My head is not drooping, it is up. And then pressing the back edge of the foot down, I come up. And we're going to transition now into half moon, Ardha Chandrasana. It's a lovely pose. We're going to do it against the wall to learn some aspects of it, and then on the floor. So half moon is a one-legged pose. I'm going to show you some things that go wrong in this pose. That go wrong generally in biking a lot, in running a lot. You see it blatantly in your yoga practice, and that's when this knee travels in and goes like that. So your yoga class is a really good way of focusing on form, learning kinesthetic literacy, bringing more integrity to joints and functional movement, learning what it feels like, and then you can duplicate it in your running and your biking. So what we're going to do is we're going to work on foot and knee hip integrity in this pose. So the block is going to want to be torso length away from your foot. A lot of times people get way too close to the block. So I'm going to plant this left foot, and my toes are lifted and my arch is working, and my arches will not work, but I make them work. So this is a big way to help to strengthen your legs. Half moon looks like so. This is where we're going. Both of my shoulders are on the wall. How we start with this for beginners, though, is that it's probably going to look more like this. So we're going to make sure that our knee doesn't ever come forward. It's a collapsing of the arch as well as the glutes not working. So connect in with your block. Find your toes, look at your toes, look at your arch, look at your knee. And if this is where your pose is at for right now, that's okay. You could do work here by lifting up the foot right like this on my toes. This would be good homework for folks that have really flat feet and that are in stability shoes. And it's excellent work for the hip. So to start here in transition, you go here, and you have to really work towards stretching the inner thigh and the hamstring. So you got to pay attention and activate muscles as you move into it. And half moon. To come up out of it is a lot of core work, so you come up, and we'll shift sides. Take your block, plant your block torso length in front of your foot, plant your foot, lift your toes, lift the arch. Look at the knee, make sure you can see the knee straight forward. Start in this beginner spot where your knee's not coming in, your foot is strong, toes are lifted, and you can maybe lift up the heel, do a little bit of these presses, and then work more into the pose by lifting up this top leg. Here's where the glute work happens. Foot's karate chop strong, and you open up the heart. Notice that the head's not drooping, it's lifted up. Half moon pose. Okay. So we will transition to in the middle of the mat. Bring your mat away from the wall a bit. Plant the left foot. Place the block torso length ahead to the left a little bit. And focus. A lot of focus required for these standing poses. So notice I haven't opened my shoulder or my hip much. Notice that my toes are mostly lifted, my arch hasn't collapsed yet, and my knee is nice and strong. As I continue to open up, I focus. The balance is hard when the gaze shifts away from the floor. I'm working on rolling my torso open, so my shoulder opens nicely and the foot raised up in the air is karate chop strong. And then I come down, and we'll shift sides. Place the block, foot's torso length away. Plant the foot nice and strong. Think about the knee coming down. Place the hand. Make sure that as you open up, the foot doesn't collapse, that you're opening up the torso, so the hand should nicely drift up above the shoulder. The lifted leg is lifting up and the foot is nice and strong. And coming up, and that's half moon pose. We'll do it one more time on each side. Plant the block, plant your foot, lift the toes. Pay attention to what the knee is doing. Don't let it twist in. If you stay here and work this, just like that, that is okay. Or opening up, lifting up the hand, and releasing. And switching to the opposite side, place the block, foot's away from it, torso length, toes lifted, knee is strong. Finding focus, lifting up the leg, opening the torso, arm just naturally follows with it. The leg up in the air, the foot is strong, the heel is reaching away. This is excellent glute work. And releasing out of that, step up to the top of the mat, and we'll inhale up, exhale, hands down to the heart. Excellent work.